Hi everyone, how's it going, and welcome to another Sky Sports fantasy football video. In front of me we've got all the April fixtures that have just been announced yesterday, and we've now got fixtures for the next 9 or 10 game weeks, and there's only going to be 3 or 4 games left for each team afterwards, so planning's became a lot easier. We can now look way into the future for different fixtures and all the fixture gains and stuff. So in this video I'll look through the single game days, the fixture gains, and also some of the possible fixture changes. They're the ones highlighted. I'll go over them in a bit. But first of all, we've got only 4 single game days to look at, which is a lot easier for us with little transfers, especially the games that are available. None of them are actually too difficult to get to. The first one here, we've got Spurs versus Everton. And again, 90% of us should have Kane, so it's really not that hard. That's a simple captaincy there. After that, 17th April, Liverpool versus Leeds. Again, as bad as Liverpool look now, it's not that hard to bring in a Salah, Nunez, Trent, depending on who's decent form. We've still got over like a month to look at players to bring in, but it's not going to be that hard bringing in a Liverpool player. After that, it's Arsenal, Southampton. Again, everyone's going to have at least one Arsenal player, I'd imagine. Saka, Odegaard, Nketiah, Ramsdale, Saliba, there's loads. And everyone should have at least one. And Southampton at home, bottom of the league. It's a no-brainer, captain and an Arsenal player in that day. And then finally, 1st of May, we have Leicester v Everton. That's probably the harder one of the 4. To try bring a player in, but again, we've got a month and a half to think about it. And then if you look at the model here, Everton here after Leicester, they've got 4 games: Fulham, City, Wolves, Bournemouth. It's not too bad if you're keeping them to the rest of the season. And then for Leicester, they've got Fulham, Liverpool, Newcastle, West Ham. So again, it's actually not that bad for whoever you're looking to bring in to keep them to the end of the season. So that's it. There's only 4 fixture days. Again, not really looking too bad in terms of bringing interesting players in. It's not as bad as a Wolves Fulham at the weekend, or Brentford Fulham, etc. So April looks decent, especially for us with the low transfers. So next we'll have a look at the fixtures that are subject to change. I think if I can zoom in, I can get them all in here. There we go. So the ones in blue are dependent on Champions League, which will be better. It'd be better zooming out, that way you can see the teams as well. The ones in blue are subject to Champions League participation. Orange is Europa League participation. Red is FA Cup participation. So I've got a list of them here. First of all is Leeds Palace. That's this one here. So this will be subject to UCL participation on Tuesday. So if Liverpool or City play on the Tuesday, they'll likely swap with Leeds and Palace. So on Sunday games, that's Liverpool and City's game against Arsenal and Southampton there. I think if one of them play on the Tuesday, they'll swap with Leeds and Palace here. So say City make the next round. Obviously Liverpool just get beat to Real Madrid 5-2, so it looks unlikely that they'll make the next round, so this game against Arsenal will probably stay here on the Sunday. If City play on the Tuesday, they'll game against Southampton will go to the Saturday, and then Leeds Palace will come down to the Sunday. Next one is Forest versus Man United here. This says it's subject to Man United Europa League participation, so if they beat, is that the semi-final? I think that'll be the semi-final, first leg. If Man United make the semi-final, that will change down here, obviously because they're not going to have them playing on a Saturday after playing on a Thursday. So that's a simple change. If they're in the Europa League, they'll play on the Sunday instead. City versus Leicester, that moves up 1. Depending on the participation of City and Liverpool in the Champions League, and we'll swap with the United game likely if both of them play. So I'm not too sure about that, because I don't know if that means City and Liverpool need to make it. for that to swap, but that's just there, just in case. But again, I don't think it really makes too much of a difference. At least you get some fixture gains on the Saturday if City doesn't swap. But it doesn't look like it's really making too much of a difference. Leeds Liverpool, 17th of April. That's the single game day. That just says subject to Liverpool's participation in the Champions League. So again, that'll probably stay here because it doesn't look like Liverpool are going to make it through. So I don't think we really have to worry about that single game day. That'll probably stay the same. 21st of April, Arsenal versus Southampton. And there, that is, we'll move to the 23rd, so that's the wee asterisk here, which is also a single game day, remember. So that will move to the 23rd if Arsenal are in the Europa League semi-finals and if Southampton make the FA Cup semis. So I'd imagine that if they make the I'd imagine that's an either or. So if Southampton make the semis, that will change, or if Arsenal make the semis in the Europa League, that will also change to the Sunday. So that could. It looks like this will be one single game day less if Arsenal make the semi-finals, which I wouldn't say is out of question, to be honest. So I think that probably looks quite likely to happen. Fulham Leeds, subject to FA Cup participation for the semi-finals. That's probably unlikely to happen, so that will probably stay there. Man United Chelsea, that's this one here. That will move one day forward or one day back if United play the Europa League on the 20th. So if they make the Europa League semi-finals, or if they make the FA Cup semi-finals, so that will probably happen. They'll probably make one of those, so that game will probably get moved here to the Sunday. Newcastle Spurs, that is here. That will move up one, so that will probably swap with the United Chelsea game. That's if United are in the Europa League semi-finals and if Spurs make the FA Cup semis. So that's probably one that's going to change. So they'll just swap over easy enough. Brighton versus City. Where's that? That's Brighton versus City there. Doesn't have a date for that one. There we are, that's not been highlighted. Brighton versus City, subject to both participating in the FA Cup semis, so that might change as well. And then finally, Southampton versus Bournemouth. That's that one. That'll move down to the Thursday if Arsenal-Southampton moves to the 23rd. So they're not going to have Southampton playing 2 days apart. So that's subject to Arsenal making the Europa League semis as well. So now that the boring stuff is out of the way, we can look at some of the fixture gains here. It's not looking good for some of us. If you look at this big gap here, Arsenal have 3 games between the 5th of March and the 8th of April, so they've got 5 games in a month. And if you're like me, well, let's look at City first as well. They're the exact same, 3 games in a month. And if you're like me and have totally filled your team with Arsenal and City players, it doesn't look ideal. Because if we look here, we've got 3 games for City and 7 games for Brentford, including 2 singles against Southampton and Fulham. So an easy transfer there could be like a Ramsdale to Raya. That way you're basically getting a 9 for 3 within the month. And it's actually fairly good fixtures for Brentford as well. The only hard ones actually looking like Man United, and then Newcastle's at home as well. So it really looks like an obvious move, to be honest. Again, the same with City, Palace, Liverpool and West Ham. There's teams with much more fixtures than them. So let's highlight it again and actually look to see what you can do in that sense. Brentford looking like the best option. Absolutely. I think if you're looking at bringing in a Brentford player, Raya, Tony, the easy 2. And especially when you look down a wee bit, Brentford look fairly safe from any fixture gains anyway. The only real gap they've got is this bit here, and I don't actually think anyone even has a 3-for-1 over them. They've got Leeds, and that's literally it. So I think if you've got a Brentford player, you're totally safe from any fixture gains, and they're one that you could literally keep until May. Especially with the 2 captain days as well. What else have we got in terms of these? 4 games for Wolves, 5 games for West Ham, 4 games for Spurs, 4 for Southampton, 6 games for Forest, but you're not really going to look at any of those players. 6 for United, there you go, 6 for 3 over City and Arsenal. This is obviously if these games don't get moved to the 8th of April. 5 for 3 with Liverpool, 5 for 3 with Leicester, 5 for 3 with Leeds, 5 for 3 with Fulham, 5 for 3 with Everton, 6 with Chelsea, 5 with Chelsea, 5 with Chelsea, 6 with Brighton. So, yeah, what's that, Sunday the 5th of March, that's 2 weeks away. It looks like it's time to get all your City and Arsenal players out. And again, I've got 15 transfers left over and about 8 players between both teams, so that's going to involve a lot of thinking. And that's including March fixtures. But if we literally just go on to April, who have we got in terms of big gaps? Liverpool, 3 for 1 with Leicester, 3 for 1 with Southampton. I think thinking about some popular players, City and Arsenal obviously being the big ones here. We've got some big gaps in here where you're literally getting a 3 for 0 with United and Newcastle players over City and Arsenal. So even more reason to take both of them out, especially when you look at that. It's Newcastle, Brentford, Everton. That's fairly good for United, so you could bring in your Rashford, Shaw, Bruno, all those players again. De Gea, really dependent on what positions you need. I think it's hard to pinpoint the players that people could have, because I think obviously everyone's already loaded up on City and Arsenal. So like those bits are really covered anyway, because you've got such big gaps for taking those players out. But I think if you're looking at Fulham and Wolves in terms of getting those guys out, realistically maybe even straight after. Has anyone got 4 games, 5 games in that period? No, so it's not even that bad there. A gap here maybe for Fulham players. If you're bringing, say, like a Mitrovic, it's just trying to find players to bring them back out, or times to bring them back out. That's some 3 for 2s. That's probably not worth it. 4 for 2s again, probably not worth it. Wolves again the same. And here maybe there's some 3 for 1s. If you're bringing Wolves players in, there you go. So if you bring a Wolves player in for Friday night, yeah, you can get them back out and bring in your Brentford player for those single game days and that big run of fixtures for Brentford. Fulham, it doesn't actually look like there's many great come off points for them. Wolves, I don't know who you'd really bring in for Wolves. Fulham, probably one of the defenders, whether that being like Kilman, maybe Sa if you need a goalkeeper now, and then you can just do a swap Sa to Raya when the Brentford games kick in. But it looks hard for Fulham, to be honest. There's not really many big fixture gains, which could be a good thing. Someone like a Polinia, you can just keep them until the end of the season. Not have to worry about 3 for 1s over them and stuff. Wolves, it's different. They've got a few good drop-off points, especially for Brentford. I think if you're looking at teams that are safe from fixture gains, Chelsea looks like one. I don't know if there's much in that sense, in that wee area there. 3 for 1 with Forest, you're not going to worry about that. And that's a 3 for 1 with Brentford as well. So again, bringing a Brentford player in. But apart from that, there's actually, like, Chelsea's fixtures seem fairly congested in that wee area as well. There's no real 3 for 1s apart from Leeds by the looks of things. So if you're looking at getting a Chelsea player in, he looks great to keep until May. Enzo Fernandez is getting some good bonus points, and it's quite cheap as well, so he could fit in there nicely if you're needing a Chelsea player. And that even works if you need someone for the single game day against Spurs. Brentford as well, congested fixtures. Brighton seem fairly congested as well, maybe apart from this area, but it doesn't look like many people have games in there either. Southampton with a 3 for 1, and that's it as well. Arsenal with a 3 for 1. But I think if you're low on transfers, like Chelsea, Brentford, I would definitely look at getting the Brentford players in. They look great and they're fairly solid defensively as well. So Raya and Tony looking like two great transfers in the next few weeks. But anyways, I think if you're someone that's on a lower transfer count, the main problem for us is going to be getting the Arsenal and City players back out, because obviously, like, most people will be stocked up on them, and it's going to take a lot of transfers getting them out for other players. If you've got loads of transfers, it's looking good. You need to try to take advantage of every single fixture game there is available, and there looks like there's a lot. So the screen's there. If you need to screenshot anything, you can have a look at it yourself. But for me, I'm going to be looking at getting Brentford players in, and I don't really have to worry too much about the single game days, so it's not too bad. So for me, again, on lower transfers, Arsenal and City players out, it's going to take a lot of transfers. I don't really have to worry about getting players in for single game days, so I'm not going to be too bothered, and I'll probably leave someone like Haaland and Saliba, like those kind of players in. So it's probably going to take up 4 transfers again for me trying to get players out, but again, have a look at it yourself, let me know what you think. And that is everything. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll have some more out in the near future. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.